So the sixth generation gaming consoles, in my opinion, it changed the game. It transcended between, retro gaming and modern gaming. It transcended that. It went from retro to modern and beyond. It really revolutionized how we play video games, how video games were made. Everything about the video game industry changed with the sixth generation. And in my opinion, this is strictly my opinion, guys. I'm not trying to start a war here, but in my opinion, one console was more influential than all of the rest, and it was Microsoft's Xbox. Now, many people, might complain that it was Dreamcast, and even though I agree with that, the Dreamcast, wasn't successful. It died, and it was probably the death of Sega, among very other things. So that's why I didn't really choose it. I went with the Microsoft Xbox because of the fact that I don't think a lot of people gave this console it's actually credit. And the reason why I put it on this list as the most influential console of the sixth generation was because I owned a PS2, I owned an original Xbox, and I played them both, and I played the same games on both consoles. So, and I put these consoles through the ringer. I destroyed these consoles. So, why though? Why Microsoft Xbox? And a lot of people don't give Xbox its actually credit. This console was only around for 4 years. 4 years. That's it. 4 years. It came out in November 2001, and exactly 4 years later, in November 2005, the Xbox 360 came out. So this console was only around in 4 years, and what it did in those 4 years revolutionized how people play video games, how people associate themselves with actually video games. So let's take a trip back in time to 2000 when Microsoft first announced the Xbox. Think about the competition they were up against. They were up against Nintendo, Sega, and Sony. Nintendo's pretty much the godfather of actually retro gaming. They brought back gaming from the brink of death. They pretty much, they kept on revolutionizing gaming up to the Nintendo 64, because that's when Sony had the PlayStation, and Sony just kicked Nintendo's ass, and the rest is history. But they were the godfather. And then going up against Nintendo, Nintendo, Sega, Nintendo and Sega always had that rivalry. And then Sony was like the new young king. They killed the fifth generation. They were just killing it right now. The PlayStation was successful. The PlayStation 2 already had a head start, and it was already becoming successful. So Microsoft had stiff competition. So one of the things they did was they focused on quality, which I think was one of the reasons why the Xbox was as successful in these 4 years that it was on, because of quality. They didn't focus on quantity, they focused on quality, making a quality console that could compete and excel, fighting the competition. So, which is one of the things where I think the Xbox 360 failed at the beginning, that they focused on quantity and not quality, which is why the early Xbox 360s failed. Thank God for the Xbox 360s, but I'm digressing. Look at the Xbox hardware. It was just as good, if not better, than what was on the market already. And the Xbox hardware actually forced, Sony to change up their game. Because if you really look at the direction Sony was going, it was going in a different direction than after the Xbox came out. Sony started doing things, started changing tactics, started doing things because they saw the potential threat Microsoft was preventing. We're talking about revolutionizing hardware. Hardware that was PC based. So it was very, very similar to what developers were already developing games for. So it was easier for them, counteracting Sony's PlayStation 2, which was very different. So it was a little harder to actually code for, given that the Xbox had a better, CPU, better graphics card and stuff like that that developers were familiar with. Combating, the Xbox was the first console. Well, not the first console because there were other consoles, but you didn't have to worry about memory cards. It actually had an internal storage. You didn't have to worry about losing your actually video cards. You're actually on memory cards, and that started the trend. Because if you look at the PlayStation 3 had an internal hard drive. They just completely left the whole memory thing. Nintendo went with like flash memory. It had a 512 MB flash memory, and it was expendable with the SD card. So, Xbox changed the game. And if you look, a few months before the Xbox launch, Sony released their network adapter that had the hard drive built in. So, imagine if Microsoft never released the Xbox. Was Sony still gonna go that route? It didn't look that way. Maybe later on, maybe a more later date, they were gonna go that route, but not at the date that they chose. I think it was more because of Microsoft. Not only that though, is that their gaming ports, in my opinion, just ran better than on the other two consoles. Look at Need for Speed Underground 2, look at, Grand Theft Auto series. They ran better on the Xbox, and they ran better, and they had more features on the Xbox than on the PS2. Microsoft knew that if they were going to port other games from other consoles, they had to come out swinging. And they had to come out swinging in a big way. One of the big ways was they added a feature which I was dying to have, which was the feature to actually, you could rip your own music and save them to the Xbox and actually have a custom radio station and listen to your favorite tunes while you're playing Grand Theft Auto. Come on. I wish PlayStation had that. And Halo. When we're talking about Xbox, we had to talk about Halo. Oh my God, Halo. Microsoft knew they had to come out with a flagship game that would compete with Sony, compete with Nintendo, compete with Mario, and Sony. I don't even think Sony had a flagship character. I think they were going more with Kratos because Crash Bandicoot was like falling behind. So actually, I would say Kratos, but they had to come out with a game that was gonna kick ass, and boy, did Halo kick ass. It kicked ass in a big, big way because that game was perfectly tailor-made for the Xbox. I couldn't find a more perfect game to say. Maybe Jet Set Radio, but Jet Set Radio, even though it was a launch title with Halo, I don't think that was a good choice. But Halo was probably one of the main reasons why people bought the Xbox. And then when the sequel, Halo 2, came out, it came out with Xbox Live. And Xbox Live just revolutionized multiplayer gaming. PlayStation 2 had their PlayStation Network Play, which sucked beyond repair. It sucked. It sucked balls. So, but Halo on Xbox Live, for the first time, you were playing not with your friends that was sitting next to you, but you were playing with people from other cities. You could truly say I am King of Kings with Xbox Live because you were playing against other people from around the United States or around the world, basically. Xbox Live revolutionized multiplayer gaming, and it was on not Sony, not Nintendo and not Sega. It was on a brand new console. A brand new console. A first time console nonetheless. I don't think a lot of people give Xbox its actually credit. In the short 4 years this console was alive, this console did a lot of things that revolutionized modern day gaming. It created the blueprint for modern day gaming, with the help of, Sony, Nintendo. Of course, without these other companies, Microsoft would have made this crazy, great console that it was. So, guys, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Like, comment, share, subscribe if you want more similar videos. Do you want me to talk about another gaming console, another gaming industry? Just leave a comment below, guys. And as always, have an awesome day.